time for Wise Guys Wednesday.
That's right. U of I physics professor Jeff Filippini joins us now, and he brought a thing full of liquid nitrogen, and that
pretty cool.
Scares me. So,
okay.
What is this about today?
What is this about? So, like many of you, when I head into work in the morning, especially in the winter, I make up some coffee or tea and put it in something like this, so a thermos bottle. Right? So you have a container that'll keep the coffee or tea warm the whole day, even in the cold Illinois winters.
Yes.
Right, so I want to talk about how this works. So the way this works is you're trying to make sure that the heat of the warm thing inside doesn't get out. So you have to make a good insulator. And the way you make a good insulator is, another way we commonly do this is like a styrofoam cup. So why you can put a hot thing in the styrofoam cup or a cold thing like liquid nitrogen. Everyone stands
you just
back.
Start pouring that
How cold is that exactly?
Minus 300 and some odd Fahrenheit.
Okay.
It's pretty cold. But I can still hold the outside of this.
Sure.
And it's because the styrofoam is full of little pockets of air, and air is a poor conductor of heat.
Yeah.
So it'll take a long time for the outside to get cold.
So I like a cup of liquid nitrogen as much as the next guy, but surely there's a better way to keep it cold.
Right. So how do we do this better? So a scientist who was in Scotland around 1892, James Dewar, was working with cold materials like this, and he came up with this idea of what you really need is two bottles, concentric. So each of these is it's called a vacuum flask. So this one, this is one you can sort of see most easily. There's two glass bottles here, an inner one and an outer one. Here, the space between it's just full of air.
Got it.
But on this one, the space between it is evacuated. It's a vacuum. So we've pulled all the air out. And these are the same thing. This is with air, this is without air, but they have sort of a silvery coating. Okay. So what I can do is I can pour liquid nitrogen in each, and you can tell how good an insulator something is by how quickly it frosts up.
Okay.
So if I put a little liquid nitrogen in this one, and I'll put a little in each of them. Don't worry about the spills.
Oh, okay. Don't worry about it.
It's just air. It's just chilly air.
That is so cool.
So
it is boiling at the moment.
Sorry.
I got scared. I don't know why.
Don't worry about
Just because it boils at this temperature.
Just pouring badly.
Do you feel like a mad scientist at this
So if you look at these, you'll see the nitrogen boiling away inside. And what'll happen if we wait a little bit is the outside of this one should start to frost up.
Okay.
And that's because the air, even though the air is a pretty good insulator, it's not that good. And eventually, it'll start getting cold on the outside, and you'll get some frost.
Oh, that's cool.
Whereas these other ones with the vacuum doesn't do so much. And it's taking a little while because it's boiling
you can
pretty well.
see I'm in a little bit of a difference, though, if you look straight at it.
So the difference is, the vacuum means that this stays nice and warm on the outside, as opposed to this one's going to get cold pretty quick. The better thing yet you can do is this one, which is it's silvered. So what's happening is even if you evacuate, even if you remove all the air that can conduct heat, you still have a glow. There's still thermal radiation, infrared light. Everything warm glows. So there's still radiation coming in from the outside. And by making the surfaces mirrored, you reflect back that radiation and prevent it from getting in.
So cool.
What does this mean when it comes to choosing which thermos you want?
Well, I don't want to give any product advice, but the fancy, but a good thermos, like the kind of thing that's it's very good at keeping stuff cold, is going to have that vacuum seal. And the really fancy ones, mostly for use in the lab, are going to have that silvering. So if I want to carry around liquid nitrogen, I need that silvering to make sure that the very, very cold stuff stays cold.
And interesting, Jeff, I thought this was really fun. You don't call this always a thermos.
No. In my lab, I call these things Dewar flasks, named after James Dewar, the Scottish scientist who invented them, but he didn't patent it. And so about 10, 12 years later, a bunch of Germans realized you could use this commercially for hot drinks and cold drinks, and they patented it and called it a thermos, and that's what we call it today.
Very interesting.
That's
and you can see the frost a little better on these now.
On
you can definitely see the frost, you guys.
Don't have any vacuum seal in
It's
them.
clearest on the silvered one, but then this one still is nice.
You can see the bottom of this one right here. Oh, right there,
So that's how these things work, and that's how your coffee or your soup or whatever stays warm.
And we don't recommend that you drink liquid nitrogen.
Do not drink the liquid nitrogen.
Don't do that. But that was very cool to see. Thank you, Jeff.
Very neat.
Happy to
Yes, of course. Thanks for joining us. Always send us your questions if you guys want to learn something. They have all the answers.
Questions are good. We love questions.
Go to our Facebook page. Let us know. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.